Rachel from 7 and On, and today I have a special guest joining me in this video, my husband Angel. In this video we're going to be talking a little bit about dads getting involved in homeschool, and we're going to be showing you a new curriculum option that could make it a little bit easier for the parent who's usually not so involved in homeschool to get involved. So every homeschool family has their own different dynamic, and I'd love it if you comment below and tell me kind of what is your dynamic like. Do you have both parents sharing the homeschool load equally? Do you have one parent doing 100% or one parent doing about 75% and the other parent involved regularly but maybe not completely? I would love to hear how it goes in your family. In my family growing up, my dad worked a lot. He was also in grad school when I was very little, and then when I was older he had a job that had a lot of traveling, so it was definitely my mom being primarily involved in homeschool. Now our family has a rather different dynamic in which actually both of us at times have gotten involved in homeschooling my youngest sisters, since my parents now both work quite a bit. So they got teacher, big sister, and big brother-in-law at times. Okay, so you actually have been fairly involved in our homeschool world, like ever since joining this family. I think you realized pretty quickly that you couldn't escape from it.
No, I have not been able to escape it. Before we got married, it was definitely a topic of discussion, and she asked me, what are your thoughts on homeschooling? And I was like, well, I have no strong feelings.
Yeah, I think you said I have no thoughts.
Because I knew she had strong feelings about them. And so in the course of the years I've had to ask many questions, and I've asked all of the normal questions that anyone from the outside of a homeschool family would ask. And little by little, and sure enough, it makes sense. And I'm definitely won over. I also believe it. So that's how it is now.
I think before you met our family, you didn't really know much of anything about homeschool.
No, I only looked at it from the negative aspects, and now I'm actually seeing them as like there's a lot more positive aspects to it.
With time, and seeing the real life results of the family and getting to know us.
Yes.
So I guess homeschoolers, you should marry people who have no experience with homeschool, so that then you can like teach them our ways. So I actually asked him to be involved in this curriculum review video because this curriculum is by Campfire Curriculums, which they're really excited about making unit studies that will help dad to get involved, because these are not meant to be your core subjects that have to take a long period of the day. These are meant to be extracurriculars. So even if dad has a really busy job and can only come in and do a couple nights a week maybe and have a little session of learning with the kids, this is very doable because it's meant to be short sessions and they're extracurricular. So if you don't get to it one week because work is really crazy, that's okay. You can pick it up the next week. So I asked him to be involved in looking at this because of that, and also because the unit from Campfire Curriculums that we are looking at is Life in the ER. And they have different units. They're very new, but they're releasing new units every single month. And a lot of them are related to kind of job shadowing in a certain way of learning about different careers and learning about different skills. And this one was following an ER doctor. And they make these units in conjunction with interviewing real professionals. So it's not just internet research that anybody could do, but they actually interview professionals to get the information and build these units. So I think that's really cool that they're doing first-person information to build these unit studies. And Angel actually worked in the medical field for a long time. He is a registered nurse, and he worked in a burn unit ICU for the first 4.5 years of our marriage. And now you're not in a hospital anymore, but he still is working as a school nurse. So you can be the person who sends people to the ER to get checked out.
Yes. I used to take people from the ER.
Yeah, now you send them there.
Yes.
So we're going to be taking you on a flip through of this video together. And before I forget, this video is in partnership with Campfire Curriculums. They sent us a copy of their Life in the ER unit so that we could take a look at it and figure out what we thought of it and how we could use it in our own homeschool. Alright, so now let's look inside. So, I printed from the adult journal. Each unit study comes with 4 journals: elementary, middle school or junior high, high school, and adult. And you're meant to have each person in your family is able to read along in their own journal. You can have them read along on digital devices, or you can print it. There is a lot of color in it. In the ER one, there's a lot of red color. But I printed in black and white just because that is what I always do. Pretty much, if I can get away with it, I print in black and white. That's my personality, and it definitely works. There might be a couple pages you might want in color. And in the front of the book, it does give you notes on, like, if you're trying to conserve printing, these are the pages that you really need to have printed for each person, whereas these are the pages that you wouldn't necessarily have to print per person. And I really appreciate that. And as someone, on a budget, trying to conserve printing, that's really convenient. So this is lesson 1, and it just jumps right in with a story from the ER physician. And so it's bringing with a actually rather dramatic story. And I should probably note, I am actually rather squeamish about medical stuff, which has been a funny thing in our long marriage so far, of him coming home from work. And don't tell me about it.
So in this section, they use there's a story where they're holding the patient's heart, and the ER nurse or the ER doctor is actually pumping and squeezing it. And so they have this juice package box where you can have it as practice, and I thought that's a pretty cool idea. Yeah, because you got to let it fully refill, and then you got to squeeze it again. Okay, yeah.
And it's not nearly so, it's not gross for those who
It's not
are...
gross. And it's not messy, and it's like $1 or less.
Yeah, cheap. Easy to find. So some of the learning that they're doing here is learning about basically how the heart, what is this called? Anatomy of the heart?
Yeah, it's the way the blood flows. Right now it's just the anatomy of the heart. And this is the way the blood flows.
So this would be in color if you printed it in color with all the red and blue for oxygenated and deoxygenated. Yeah, I know words.
Let's see, for auditory learners.
So this is like a mnemonic type of learning which way the blood is going in and out.
Okay, that's pretty
for
cool.
The pulmonary and systemic circulation. So you would be sitting down. This is still in lesson 1. You read the story, and then kind of where they're going into more in depth here is about the heart, based on that real life kind of story of the ER doc pumping the heart and working to save the patient. There's also a faith connection. This is a faith-based unit study. So they do have connections in here. Talking about the Word of God here.
And the heart.
And the intentions of the heart. Then you're already done with the first lesson. And this is really neat. At the end of each lesson, they have a section of lessons learned. What terms were defined during the course of the lesson, which if you print the whole journal, in the back of the journal there is a glossary for all the terms and definitions.
Yeah, those words are definitely not common. Pericardium, pneumothorax, those are not.
Yeah, those are intense.
Yeah, I mean, I'm teaching an anatomy class, and we haven't covered those yet. Yeah. Yeah,
so especially I think if you were doing this with younger kids, you might not even be going into these kind of words so much. But if you were doing it with high schoolers or kids who are legitimately interested in a medical career in the future, then that's good vocabulary to start learning. And there's the information about how a heart works, which is really cool. There was an activity about using a stethoscope. You could make a stethoscope at home, or if you're like us and you have a stethoscope, you could just use the one that you have. I thought this one was cool because this is lesson 2, and they are trying to show you what are charts and what are reading charts, which that's interesting to me because always, being married to a nurse, I hear a lot about charts. Oh, I'm charting. Had to come home late because I was charting. But I'm like, what even is charting?
So this is all charting. I'm kind of glad that they have this. I mean, they have like, these are all real.
Yeah.
And it seems like, looking at it, it could seem overwhelming as like, I have to remember this. Yeah, you have to remember this for, if you're a doctor, you have to remember this maybe for 30 patients. Yeah, if you're a nurse, you gotta maybe remember it for about 6 or 8 patients.
And you have to be able to like pretty quickly decipher all this information. What does it even mean? And then this is.
Oh, I thought this was cool. What's more important, knowing your patient's name or knowing your patient's symptoms? And,
see how different family members.
And yeah, it would be really nice to just talk with your family, like, oh, patient in room 8 with the cardiomegalopathy, or Susan from room 8. It's just, how do you? I think that's a good conversation to have.
Yeah.
And fun.
Yeah, so it's basing it on kind of the science of medicine.
And it says what 3 things stand out. What first things would you look for in a chart? I think those are really good.
And what 3 things stand out on the chart. So you had a real life chart to look at.
That's cool.
And then there's a little scene to act out here, which is like a dialogue of talking to a patient. So it's like a little script where you have a patient.
Yes. So scripts are important, especially in nursing school, but at some point you just kind of use regular common sense conversations with somebody.
But here they're acting, here it's like for 2 people in the family to act out a situation. And then I think, so then they come up, okay, the doctor wrote down these symptoms based on that conversation, and now you're supposed to think what would be the diagnosis kind of thing.
Yeah. This is for an adult learner, Rachel?
This is the adult one, yeah.
So an adult is learning this.
Yeah, well, yeah, you're not supposed to be expected to come in with knowing about how hospitals work.
Okay.
Exactly, you're
So
not supposed to be coming in.
the
So this is for the parent is learning along at the same time.
All right.
So the activity and the questions that are in the other levels are more simplified depending on the level.
Okay.
The little activities. But I think everybody was kind of involved in acting out the scare.
Okay.
But then the activities and the responses are different depending on the level. And here, this was a review. We left off with the patient describing in more detail what was already on his chart. So now I think they're getting into the physical exam and what that involves.
Okay, yeah. So you always start from the top and you keep working yourself down to the bottom. That's just a regular full body exam, and that's important.
Part of the diagnosis thing. So this is still all the same case, and it's
Oh, wow.
building for this part. The whole entire unit there's several different cases.
Yeah. Uncommon words, ecchymosis, purulence. I mean, those are definitely words that
These are
one will never
legit.
use. Well, one not in the medical field would never use, just use bruised.
Because this is what we would say as lay people, but then it's nice to be able to know what your doctor is thinking, what words doctors would use, a medical thing. And then it's getting into the medical decision making. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I think these are my favorite.
The
the
Family
Family Connect
Connect.
ones. I like the like. Would you have decided to do another scan? Okay. Second opinions. What do you think of off limits?
And what types of topics
Okay.
did the doctor talk about?
Should everything be kept to small talk, such as whether? Okay. Try to perform a physical exam on a family member. That's fun.
You would think that was fun.
Yes. Oh, okay. Lymph nodes. Yeah, that's cool.
Okay, so this is
Feeling them out.
This is doing a lymph node examination.
Yeah,
On
I
a
just
family.
recently had someone talk to me about a lymph node in their armpit, and they said it really, really was tender. I'm like, yeah.
All right. So it's been building so far.
Oh, I did see this in digital form.
I think it's
This
probably easier to see.
MRI scans.
That's cool to see kind of what do doctors see when you do these scans, and what are the doctors looking at?
This could be like for anyone like first looking at them, it's like what they all look the same.
Yeah,
Yes,
that's
yes.
pretty much what I'm thinking.
I show my students tissues, microscopic tissues, and they're like, it all looks the same, and I'm just like, it does not look the same.
It kind of looks the same, but see, that's why you gotta go to school.
Oh,
Go to school
man.
for this.
Yeah, this is nice. It's nice to know the differences between an MRI scan, CT scan, PET scan. Because a lot of times an X-ray you'd be like, oh, I don't know, isn't it an X-ray? No. So that's cool to know these things too.
Yeah, I think that was cool about the different scans. I did see in a later page, which I don't think I printed out that one yet, but they had, like, what's the difference between an MD and an NP and a something else?
PA. So
and a PA.
That's actually pretty cool to know the difference between a PA, NP, and an MD. And a lot of it's got to do with your focus. And so I thought that was neat. And then they talked about, what kind of jobs you can get and
how much they pay.
How much they pay. And
that was a little bit bittersweet because he was in grad school to be an NP before we decided to change our life quite a bit.
Yeah.
Oh well.
Oh well.
Oh well, now you're in grad school to be a teacher still.
Yeah.
So I think families would have a lot of fun with this. I think this would be a little bit tough for families who don't like medical stuff. Like my dad. If my dad were doing this, he would be a little bit not a huge fan. I don't think.
I mean, it starts out with the story of this guy in an accident, and it's kind of like, oh man, that's.
This particular one I think could be intense for some kids and for some families for sure. I think it depends on your level of comfort with the medical field and probably your level of interest. But they have different, we specifically picked this one because of your background in the medical field and because of the interest that some in our family would have for this one. But they have different ones. They have camping. Already out. They have some related to, I think, like the real pirates of the Caribbean, so piracy in the Caribbean. They have different ones, and they're all being based on first-hand research. Oh, I saw the Jepper bingo. That looked fun.
Oh, I didn't see that.
Which was for reviewing vocabulary and different tools and stuff, which are all things that I definitely don't know, and you probably know off at the top of your head. So that is a little look inside.
At the beginning of this, it had these instructions on printing out pages. So it said, I thought that was neat. It said that you can print out these pages multiple times.
Oh yeah.
But you can print out these pages one time for the whole group. So I think, Rachel, you said that was actually pretty cool.
Yeah, so that you're not feeling like super overwhelmed with printing if you have a big family. So yeah, that's what it's like. That's a little bit of a look inside. We didn't show you the whole thing. There are a lot of lessons. There's a lot in this. 20 lessons. This one has 20. The different units have like 10 or 15 or 20 lessons per unit. So I think if you really do all of this, you're going to understand way more about how hospitals work and how doctors work than you did at the beginning. And that can be really empowering. Even if you're not super into the medical field yourself, you can really feel equipped.
Well, whoever, I read in the beginning, it was the doc, I forgot his name, it was in the beginning. He's the guy who they consulted, right?
Well, they didn't put in a name.
Okay. So there's obviously somebody, because this is not common knowledge, and this is definitely very specific. So I'm kind of glad that they actually talked to an expert.
A real person who's living this.
Because I can tell this is definitely what it was. It was like, it was done by somebody who knew exactly.
This is hospital life.
Yeah, that's ER hospital life, and all the other stuff was in there too. I was like, okay. So it wasn't just anybody was writing this from Wikipedia.
Yeah. Yes. And that is a sign of quality.
Yeah.
All right, thanks for watching. We hope this was helpful. I'll link Campfire Curriculums below so you can check it out yourself and see if you're interested in this unit or any others. Are you squeamish or are you super comfortable with the medical stuff? We're clearly on two sides of the spectrum here.
Not squeamish.